As the clock struck 5 p.m., I shut down my laptop, put it in my bag, and stood up. I plan to finish the rest of my work at home.
See you all tomorrow.
I said to my colleagues and boss,
Hey Alex, aren't you going to the anniversary party?
today, a party to celebrate our company's 20th anniversary was being held at a hotel banquet hall.
Sorry, I have to take care of my dad.
Ah, that's tough. Can't you get a sibling to cover for you?
Everyone in the office knew I left on time every day to take care of my father.
I don't have any siblings. My father is an only child too.
That's too bad. You're missing a chance to drink all you want on the company's dime.
I nodded to Jason's sympathetic look and left the office. My name is Alex. I'm turning 30 this year. I live with my dad and, unfortunately, I don't have a significant other. The company I work for sells business software like accounting and attendance systems, and we've been marketing cloud-based systems to businesses. With the recent societal shift towards remote work, there's been a surge in companies wanting to move their operations to the cloud, and our sales have been climbing. Our president, Mr. Carter, had told all employees to attend today's party, as many of our clients would be there. But to do that, I would have had to extend my dad's daycare hours, and the company wasn't going to cover those extra costs, so I decided not to go. My dad is only 64, but he developed early onset Alzheimer's 2 years ago, and his condition has rapidly worsened. Now he can't eat or go to the bathroom by himself. He tends to wander, so someone needs to be with him at all times. That's why I put him in daycare while I'm at work. My mom and grandparents passed away when I was young, and since neither my dad nor I have siblings, we don't have other family to rely on.
Could you come here for a minute?
Yes, sure.
The day after the anniversary party, I was called into the president's office. The topic was what I expected. Last night's party.
Alex, why didn't you come to the party last night?
He asked me this in a stern tone. I explained the situation to him. Then Mr. Carter became furious.
Are you saying the extra daycare fee for your dad is more important than our company's 20th anniversary party?
Basically, he was saying not to be stingy about such expenses for the company's sake.
Really, young people these days are so disappointing. When I was young, I worked my tail off, sacrificing my own and my family's needs.
With that, Mr. Carter sighed in exasperation. This man, who has lived his whole life with his mother and wife taking care of him, will never understand how I feel. Even though I leave work on time every day, I still have a ton to do afterward. I shop for groceries, prepare dinner, do the dishes, laundry, and cleaning, then take care of my dad. Even my weekends don't feel like a break. Mr. Carter could never understand how hard this kind of life is. Sometime later, I was busy preparing for an important business negotiation. The client was Anderson Commerce, a fairly large company, and if this negotiation succeeded, it would lead to a major contract. Mr. Carter had high hopes for it, but just 5 minutes before I was about to leave for the negotiation, I got a call on my phone. It was from the daycare where I had left my father.
Hello, is something wrong? Yes, a fever, you say? Got it? I'll head over there right away.
Apparently, my dad had developed a high fever. It's unusual for him to get a fever, as he rarely catches colds. They asked me to come pick him up immediately, so I reported it to Jason.
I'm sorry. I just got a call from the daycare saying my dad's come down with a fever. I need to go pick him up right now.
What? Then what about the negotiation?
I'll have to ask someone to go in my place or reschedule it. For now, I'll call the client myself.
Understood. I'm counting on you.
As I called the client and hurried out of the office, I got into the elevator. Mr. Anderson, the president of the client company, was eager to implement our cloud service as soon as possible.
When I informed him that I couldn't make it today, he said, then we'll consider services from other companies.
No. Another one of our staff will be attending, so please bear with us.
Not wanting to lose this opportunity to a competitor, I decided to ask a colleague who was free to step in. I sent them an internal email with the location of the presentation file I had prepared in advance, along with other relevant information. While doing this, I reached the nearest train station and boarded the next train.
Sorry, I'm late. Dad, are you okay?
I picked up my father from the daycare and took him straight to the hospital by taxi. The diagnosis was influenza. This was troublesome since he'd been sick for 5 days and needed 2 more days after his fever gone down before he could return to daycare. This meant I couldn't take him there for nearly a week. I would have to take time off from work. Taking that long time off from work would not look good. Taking that law off from work wouldn't look good. But there was no other choice. First, I called the colleague I had asked to cover for me to find out how the negotiation went.
Sorry for putting you on the spot today.
No problem at all.
So how did it go?
The feedback from the client wasn't bad. They said they'd consider it. Then I reported this to Jason, and also mentioned my father's flu and that I would need to work remotely for a while.
That's tough.
Jason understood and agreed. A week later, my father's health had fully recovered, and I returned to the office for the first time in a while. But then something shocking happened. My desk was gone. Well, not exactly the desk was there, but the files of my work that should have been on it were missing. Instead, my personal items from inside the desk had been haphazardly packed into a cardboard box on top of it.
What does this mean?
I asked, and Jason informed me.
Alex, Mr. Carter wants to see you. Head to his office right away.
As instructed, I went to his office.
Alex, you took a whole week off work at a time like this. Do you have any idea how busy we are? Are you taking your job too lightly? I don't care if it's for caregiving or whatever. You're fired.
What? Are you saying you're firing me?
That's what I'm saying.
But I wasn't just off. I was working remotely. I was definitely working from home.
Mr. Carter didn't listen.
Shut up. If you're serious about your job, show up at the office. What about last week's negotiation? I heard Mr. Anderson from the other company is hesitant about implementing our service. Didn't we lose credibility because you bailed on the negotiation?
Indeed, as Mr. Carter said, I had tried contacting Mr. Anderson several times since then, but I still hadn't received a favorable response. But I was planning to patiently persist with that matter.
Anyway, someone who can't prioritize the company's needs doesn't belong here.
Faced with Mr. Carter's anger, I stood my ground.
I haven't done anything wrong, so I can't accept this.
Saying that, I slammed the door and left his office. I walked out of the company and sat down on a bench in a nearby park, feeling completely lost. Even if I wanted to consult with HR, the HR manager was Mr. Carter's brother, and he probably wouldn't listen to this story. After all, I shouldn't be fired without a valid reason. So this was just harassment out of Mr. Carter's anger, but on further thought, working under such a malicious person was foolish. With that in mind, the next day I submitted my resignation. I had no more attachment to that company. In any case, I needed to support my father. I immediately went to the employee service and started looking for a new job. Fortunately, 2 weeks later, I secured a job in the same industry. It was a bit farther from home, and the salary was lower than my previous job, but it couldn't be helped. I diligently applied my product knowledge and sales experience gained from my previous job. After a while, I got to know a female office worker at the desk next to mine named Emily, and surprisingly, she confessed her feelings to me, and we started dating. Emily was 26, 4 years younger than me, a calm, bright, and kind woman. If I hadn't resigned from my previous company, I would never have met Emily. Thinking about it, maybe being unfairly fired by Mr. Carter turned out to be a good thing. Life has its ups and downs. There are good times and bad times. So even when bad things happen, I believe there will be good things ahead. And I should keep living positively. It was some time after Emily and I started dating. My direct boss, Michael, began to target me. He harassed me when no one else was watching. I was repeatedly forced to redo reports and presentation materials, and I was unjustly criticized for my abilities and appearance. And that was without having made any mistakes.
You're completely useless.
He would keep throwing such words at me. Each time I wondered if he was okay. Eventually, I learned why Michael was acting this way from a conversation with a female colleague.
About Michael, he used to like Emily,
Really, I had no idea.
but she wasn't interested, so she kept turning down his dinner invitations.
So that's it. He didn't like that I won Emily's heart. Moreover, Michael started snatching up deals I was close to closing, claiming the credit for himself. So my sales performance wasn't improving, which was incredibly frustrating. Maybe this was the price for dating Emily, But the stress was wearing me down, and my mind was slowly becoming exhausted. Emily kindly listened to my complaints and worries, encouraging and comforting me. Ironically, this situation only strengthened the bond between Emily and me. Then one day, out of the blue, I received a call from my former boss, Mr. Carter.
Alex, please, I'm begging you, come back to us.
What? Now of all times?
I was shocked by his sudden request. What on earth was happening?
The thing is, Mr. Anderson from Anderson Commerce insists on dealing with you only for the contract.
Mr. Carter said in a feeble voice.
That...
I never imagined that Mr. Anderson would think so highly of me.
I'm sorry about saying you were fired. I'll raise your salary higher than before, so please come back.
Mr. Carter pleaded desperately. I told him firmly,
I'm sorry, but my family is important to me. I have no intention of returning to a company that prioritizes work over family.
Mr. Carter fell silent, and I felt a bit relieved. Then right after hanging up, I contacted Mr. Anderson of Anderson Commerce. Is that you, Alex? Long time no see.
Long time indeed, Mr. Anderson.
I arranged a meeting with him, prepared presentation materials for the product, and headed to Anderson Commerce. Fortunately, my current company handled the same product I had recommended to Mr. Anderson. Arriving at the office and being ushered into the president's room, I started my product presentation without much preamble. After listening to me, Mr. Anderson began to speak.
Alex, I heard from Jason that your father has Alzheimer's disease.
On the day I had to cancel the previous negotiation, I had explained to him that my father, who needed care, had come down with the flu. After learning that I had been fired, he heard the details from Jason.
Because of early departures and remote work for caregiving, a company that starts talking about unfair dismissal is not one we'd contract with.
He said, laughing heartily.
So, we're gonna make a deal with your company this time. Looking forward to working with you, Alex.
Mr. Anderson, thank you very much.
I shook his extended hand and bowed my head. It was my first major contract since joining the new company. He immediately signed the contracts. Now Michael could steal the credit for this? Mr. Anderson and I talked about various things afterward.
Actually, my wife was in a car accident a few years ago, and the after effects left her in a wheelchair. So I know how hard it is to care for a family member.
So that's why he sympathized and helped me.
Life is hard for both of us, but let's keep at it.
He said, patting me on the back, which gave me courage. Life has its ups and downs. I feel like good things will continue from here. Meeting Emily and being tired from work and caregiving, her presence heals and energizes me. I want to be that kind of presence for her. I want us to be a relationship where we support each other. Thinking this, one day I proposed to her.
I'm so happy, she said, crying with joy.
I had been nervously wondering if she might say no because of my father's caregiving, but it seems I had nothing to worry about. Announcing our engagement at work might make Michael's harassment worse, but I am prepared for that. However, before we could even announce our engagement, Michael's transfer was decided. Life truly has its ups and downs. You never know what might happen, and even if bad things keep happening, I believe that good things will come later in equal measure. With that thought, I continued to work hard at my job and caregiving, planning to make Emily happy for the rest of our lives.